I'm sure that's been uttered throughout history in various different ways. And I'm sure that's been used and applied in different fields, right? But I heard this phrase for the first time in my experience in construction, right? In construction, I've heard this phrase multiple times, which was to assume makes an ass out of you and me, right? Now, I want y'all to understand why I like this phrase. Before we even get started with the main subject matter of this video, I want y'all to understand why I like that phrase so much. Well, first you have to spell the word assume. A-S-S-U-M-E. So some of you are probably already picking up if you haven't already. To assume makes an ass, A-S-S, out of you and me, M-E, right? So I break down the fact that to assume makes an ass out of you and me, but I'm going to start this video off with an assumption. Whether you are 17 years old, whether you're 70 years old, or whether you are 170 years old, I can go out on a limb and assume that you have heard life compared to many different things using a plethora of various metaphors. Life is a journey. I'm sure you've heard that one before. If you are in the conscious community, spiritual world, conspiracy world, whatever, I'm sure that you've heard life is a video game. We're just avatars animating a body and living through this experience. Some people say life is a blank canvas, whatever. All in all, there's a common denominator between all these different metaphors. Life is what you put into it. If you are dropped down into a video game, you're level 1, butt-ass naked, wearing a loincloth, and you're carrying a wooden sword. You have to, in order to get to the next level, in order to get to level 2, 3, 4, 5, in order to equip the stronger diamond sword, you know, the sword of Golgotha, you know, the armor of Hebrews, you know, whatever random ass words that they be using, you have to level up. In order for you to level up, you need to show progress, aka a mastery of all the skills needed at level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Once you show mastery of these things, then you are able to progress to more and more challenging challenges, right? If you are using the blank canvas analogy, life is a blank canvas. Yeah, and it turns into art once you start to add to it. Add some paint to that bitch. Add a little bit of lead, some ink. I don't care if you go jump in the mud and then go belly flop on the big ass canvas. Add something to it. It doesn't become art if you just leave it there. You go to Ross, you go to Michael's, you go to some art supply store, and you just say, this is my art. What is it? My art. But you didn't draw anything. You didn't even paint it. You didn't even put a drop of anything up here. What is it? This is my art. No one's going to look at it. Now, if you're proud of it, then so be it. You're proud, but let's just be real. A lot of us, I wouldn't say us, I don't want to put myself in that group, but nevertheless, a lot of people in the world, they need attention. They need validation. So what validation, whether it's of yourself or of the world, what validation are you going to get from a blank ass canvas that anyone could buy from Target for $15.99? I don't understand, you know? But let me go ahead and add my own analogy to it. And once again, I'm sure it's been done. There's nothing new under the sun. But let's just call life a recipe, because life is what you put into it, and that's all a recipe is. You put things in your recipe that give you your desired result. So you could go as far as to say that yes, life is what you put into it, but life is also what you take away from it. Some of the best recipes have been tinkered with throughout the years. You know, when great grandmama gives the cookbook to grandma, and grandma gives the cookbook to your mama, and your mama gives the cookbook to you. Throughout history, that recipe has been tweaked in a little bit here and there. Some things worked, some things didn't. But just like if you go throughout life and you keep on making the same mistake, you're going to have a shitty life. So the same way, if you don't tweak the ingredients in your recipe, you're going to have a shitty recipe. You're gonna work so hard at making the same, you know, you got Kraft mac and cheese, and then you can fly on over there to Italy and get some real pasta. You know what I'm saying? And you surprised when the world isn't treating you like Italian pasta when your recipe just came out the microwave. It's pre-packaged. Everyone else has got it. There's nothing unique about what you're doing. But you see, the funniest thing, man, is that a lot of people's recipes, and it took me 5 minutes to get here, and I apologize, but it's like one of the ingredients that people are not tweaking in their recipes, that they are not eliminating from their recipes, that they are not balancing out in their recipes, is that bitterness ingredient. I see it the most in the dating world. You see it everywhere, don't get me wrong. And then we'll touch on a few of those, but in the dating world, people want whole, happy relationships, but they're halfway in, halfway out because of what their exes did to them. You are punishing somebody in their present for what people in the past did, and you're letting that taint your art. You're letting that taint your gaming experience. Oh, I'm not going to go over there because people told me, from my last 2 experiences going out there, I keep getting my ass beat, so I'm not going to change it up. I'm going to start blaming everyone else. I'm going to start holding in all the stuff that's blocking my journey. So when all these bad things happen, just see that as the equivalent of an invisible hand dropping in a little bit of bitterness. And if you don't counteract that bitterness with a little bit of sweetness, a little savoriness, a little tanginess, that bitterness is going to overpower your meal. Let's use a young people's example, right? You salty, right? A salty person is mad at everything, right? Well, what do you think is in their recipe? If you put 2 pounds of salt into your stew or your soup, what's your meal going to taste like? So using the comparison of the meal in your mental diet, if all you're doing is watching content online that pisses you off, and it doesn't rile you up to get up and act. It just, you watch it, you get pissed off at it, and then you just go and watch the next video. You see? What are you eating mentally? A lot of you are watching a whole bunch of stuff that makes you salty. 2 pounds of salt every single day, every stupid ass video, every social media post that you look at that pisses you off and you do nothing about. Salt, salt, salt. Over time, sure, a little bit of salt is good. Having an opinion about something that you saw external to your life that kind of rubbed you the wrong way, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion. Sure, that's a little sprinkle of salt. Everyone has a little bit of salt in their ingredients, you know what I'm saying? Celtic sea salt, Himalayan sea salt, by the way, not regular table salt. Table salt is poison, but go do your research on salt. Anyway, if you add 2 pounds of shade, what does shade mean? Well, I don't know how you add shade, but let's just say you keep your recipe out too long. You keep it in the shade too long. You see how you have to stretch that one a little bit, but nevertheless, you add shade. Well, that's supposed to be a hot meal. That's supposed to be like the meals you used to see at Applebee's or any steakhouse when the plate comes out sizzling. They ordered the sizzling entree, and they shit's cold. You let it sit out too long. You ain't do nothing with it. You waited on it. You sat on it too long. It's no good anymore. Start over. But see, that's the thing too. A lot of people have too much pride. Well, I've already put the tomatoes in here. I've already put the onions in here. I've already put this, that, and the third in here. I'm not starting over. I'm just gonna keep adding to it until it tastes good. Well, if you got 2 pounds of anything, 2 pounds of salt, you got 2 pounds of water in a freaking stew, it's gonna be messed up. It's going to be hyper saturated, I guess with water, too diluted, or it's going to be oversaturated. But bitterness is the main thing. Bitterness, saltiness are things that need to be balanced out in one's life and one's recipe. They need to. Like, I don't understand this. You see someone that's doing well in life and that pisses you off because you are the salty one. You are the bitter one. Oh, you're only rich because you did this. Oh, if I had what you had, what do you mean? What, if you had roaches in your cereal? If you had a stepdaddy that was beating on you like a lot of these rappers be talking about? If you had that, then you could be successful? What are you talking about? People over here still making excuses. They're using their saltiness and their bitterness to shield them from actually accepting accountability for their actions. To realize that maybe there's some changes within that need to be made, because if you don't make the changes within, you are not going to see the changes without. It's just that simple. I really don't understand. I'm going on a tangent, but whatever. It's like I'm rusty and I'm coming back to making videos. But nevertheless, it's like you watch someone succeeding and that pisses you off. How can you live that level of existence? I mean, hell, don't get me wrong. You can have your opinions on what people are doing with their platforms, because I get pissed off when I see rappers and they're like, fuck that bitch, do drugs, yeah, gang, 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 murder, murder. I'ma spin the block, I'ma kill all my ops. They look just like me, but I'ma still shoot them in the spleen. What? Why are you making songs about killing people that look like you, that are living in the exact same situations as you, that shop in the same places as you, that like the same music as you, that like the same bitches as you, that like to hang out with their homies the same way? You don't go kill that person and then go make a song about it. What's in your recipe? You know what I'm saying? Why don't you go upgrade your herbs? You can get your herbs and your spices from Dollar Tree, where I'm sure they have a whole bunch of additives and chemicals to them. Or you can go to some farmer's market and get freshly plucked oregano, fresh thyme, mint, cilantro. You know, you can go get this stuff fresh. It's all about your mental diet. It's all about your recipe for life. Going back to the individual ingredients. Why are you surprised that your meal is sweet when you put a shit ton of sugar in it? Why are you surprised when your meal is spicy when you put ghost pepper in it? Why are you surprised? You put it in the recipe. This is what you get out of it. You see, a lot of people don't take from life either. Life is what you put into it, but it's also what you take from it. You're wondering why no one wants to partake in your life, but the recipe for your life is bitterness. It's evilness. It's hatred, it's envy, it's judgment. Who's going to want to eat a plate of that? Who's going to want to be around that for a long period of time? Who? Would you? Hell, some of y'all hate on your own friends for some of the shit that they do, and you still stay around them because like attracts like. In all honesty, I'd rather be by myself because I know that I'm some work, you know. I will admit, I'm a lot of things, and I'm a very dynamic individual. I can believe in one thing today and completely scrap it tomorrow. I get it. I am variable because I'm always learning. I'm always growing, but I'm always dying. Because in order for there to be new growth, there needs to be death. There is the balance in this world. There is life and death. There is spicy and there's sweet. Sweet and spicy, like if you want to order number 5 from a Chinese takeout. You know what I'm saying? There's a polarity. There is balance that needs to be had. My balance just tends to go boom, boom, boom. But that's just my game to play. You know, one day I might have to change my own recipe, which I've done multiple times. I have literally died multiple times. And I'm not talking about my heart stopping. I'm talking about an energy that I was once accompanying, that I was once embodying. I let it die. I let it come to an end. I changed the recipe. Till the next one.